I don't know how you're going to AI me not eating pizza, but we're back with All That Talk. Everyone is laughing. I'm Ralph the Ref from REFEREERANT. This is Coach Dempsey from Hicksville High School, varsity girls. You laughing? What's so funny? And
you always have some joke and everyone loves it. Like somebody told me they saw the reel about the sneakers and I was just like, there's always a joke in our episodes. And
I'm just trying to be myself, you know? And you know what's so great? Your phone, this case, it looks like the back of a marble table. It's really nice. Where'd you get that?
I think it was Five Below.
Okay, cool.
That's definitely a Five Below case.
So we have a talented young photographer. He's currently attending Nassau Community College, and he's one of the sports photographers in that department. Also former basketball player at Lawrence High School. Don Small the second. How are you, my friend?
Don Small's the third.
Who's the second?
My father.
The guy that likes Allen Iverson?
Yeah.
I knew this was going somewhere. How are you, though?
Good, how are you?
All right, so I did the intro. I'm going to eat some pizza. So Kelly's going to take over while I'm done with this pizza, and then I'll interject when I need to.
So Lawrence is an interesting place, and I wanted to get your take on growing up before high school. Like, what's your experience playing sports? What sports did you play? How did you get into them? And just the dynamics of what Lawrence School District is.
So when I was younger, we had this club that was called the Inwood Buccaneers, and that's really how everyone in the Lawrence, Inwood, Cedarhurst area, that's how we all got introduced to sports. Inwood Buccaneers, it started off as football, which I used to play. That's how I got introduced to sports. And everyone really played football from, I think it started at about 9 years old all the way up. And then they started a basketball program, and then that's when I made the transition. And they also had a soccer club, so it really it branched out just between those three sports. And then it was really just for the Five Towns area, and then they ended up having an AAU team called the South Shore Sharks. And I started playing that, and that's when we started going out throughout the city, the Bronx, Brooklyn. But it wasn't really like what AAU is now. It was really more just like, I guess you could say, like starter. Yeah, and that's really how everyone got introduced. Everyone playing against each other, playing on the same teams. Gym class. We had Inwood Park. We also had number 2 school, which had a basketball court at the time. Then we would just, summertime, all of us would just text each other 8 o'clock in the morning, go play basketball until street lights came on, until our parents had to come drag us out from the parks. And that's really how it was.
I want to backtrack to this whole Five Towns thing, because I think when you're not from Long Island, specifically if you're not from Nassau County, it's a very confusing area.
Absolutely.
It also borders Far Rockaway, Queens, and there's a whole bunch of towns that are, I guess, really clumped together. Just explain what Five Towns is and what that area is like.
So it's a very diverse area for sure, but it's quite a unique town. Like when you explain where Five Towns is, the best description that you could possibly say for people to realize where it is, it's probably around JFK. Just say you're near JFK, because even if you say, right around Far Rockaway, not a lot of people know what Far Rockaway is, because Far Rockaway is basically like the hidden part of Queens.
Right.
Even when I was in college, a lot of people were like, oh, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'm from Inwood in Manhattan. I'm like, no, Inwood, Long Island. It's in the Five Towns area. Oh, what's that? And I'm just like, by JFK Airport. And they're like, oh, okay, I know what that is. So it's really like a hidden town in a sense. Like, we're definitely our own people in the Five Towns, like, compared to Levittown in a sense. Like, we're nothing like over here.
It is, and we talked off air a little bit where I didn't tell you exactly when I discovered the Five Towns and what it was, but it was more like, I think I was a sophomore in college. I was 20 years old, and I just remember going down Peninsula, and my friend lived in Woodmere, and I wasn't understanding until you drive into it, and you go like, wow, there's a whole set of different, like, I didn't know what this was. So
even just between where I live, like, even from Inwood to Woodmere, which is a 5-minute drive, but like, you see so many different things. Like, as I was growing up, Inwood was full of, just a bunch of black people. Now you get to Inwood, once you cross over 878, it transitions from black people to a dominant Hispanic area. And then you go up the street, take a 30-second walk, now you're in Cedarhurst, nothing but Jewish people. You take another 30-second walk, now you're in the Hewlett-Woodmere area. a bunch of white people. Like, it's so within that 5-minute area spread, it's so different.
So I'm interested, when you go to the beach, do you go to Far Rockaway or do you go to Long Beach?
So I used to go to Long Beach. I used to go around the Long Beach area, but my family, my dad's side of the family, we ended up getting an apartment building down like deep in the beach, like around Beach 116.
Okay.
So I started going down there more because, you know, the beach is nice. Like,
It's very nice
Yeah,
now,
it's
especially like since Hurricane Sandy
yeah,
happened.
like
they
even like the beginning of Rockaway, like Beach 9th, it's way better than what it used
Absolutely.
to be. Like,
It's not Long Beach, but
Yeah.
it's nice.
yeah, it's nicer. You can see that more people actually show up there.
For
like,
sure.
Yeah.
I had, like, you know, before Hurricane Sandy, it wasn't built up
Mhm.
the same way, but I really think that they springboard that particular situation and segued that to a very nice beach. So it's something that you should definitely be proud of. I
Yeah,
think
no,
it's very
sure.
nice.
100%.
So I wanted to ask the connection between you two, and this is always interesting for me since obviously I've been coaching for many years, and I stay in touch with a lot of my girls, you know, almost to the point where a girl that was on my first team, one of her kids are almost at the age where I'm going to coach her, which is very strange, right? Because I can't believe I've lasted that long where now it's at the point where they're coming to the game and they're showing, you know, and it's probably weird for her to go like, yeah, these used to be my coaches when I was in high school. And they're like, why? They look like they're still like young. So, but I do find that it's special because, especially when a coach enters your life at like your pivotal age, they have such a deep impact that you probably don't even notice when you're young. And then only as time goes on and you start getting into adulthood and you go through experience, you go, that person was very meaningful. I know so many times that I say things and it only resonates with kids like later on. They tell me when they're 24, 25, the type of impact that I had. And that's so interesting because, you know, sometimes you need that validation, especially when you're a younger coach, because you want to make sure that you're doing the right thing. And I'm sure Kelly's going through her growing pains of trying to figure out her voice and being the dominant voice. But it's really cool to have that connection. Just talk about how you guys met and how are you guys so connected today?
Yeah, so she became the JV coach my senior year
At Lawrence High School,
yeah,
right?
Lawrence High School, and yeah, at first, you know, I didn't really like. I'm like, oh, okay, they just got a new JV coach, okay, but then she started coming around helping with the varsity team, and we just started to grow like closer and closer, and just like you said, like some of the players that you coached, they realize the things that you say later on in life, and that's kind of how it is. Like, me and her have been talking the last few days, and like she's always saw me as this like great basketball player. Like, she's always been one of the motivators, and I've only known her for such like a short time, but she's definitely up there in one of those motivational like high spots. And just the way like we've been talking, and she's like, oh, you're such a great player, like I love the way you play, you're exciting to watch. And she said this to me before, but it didn't really like stick in my head. And now that I'm not playing basketball anymore, I'm taking in the things that she's saying, and it's like it's coming back to me. So yeah, I really appreciate the bond that we have. And like I said, I've known her for such a short time, but I feel like I've known her for years. Like, I feel like she's coached me like since I started playing basketball.
Right.
So what's interesting was I went through the interview process at Lawrence, and, you know, since my father's been around, he knows a lot of the coaches. So, you know, I knew Lou Robinson was one of the best coaches, been there very long. You know, my father and him know each other. He has a very good reputation. And, you know, I think he basically knew he was hiring me in the interview, and I gave all the right answers, and I was just hired. So when I do something, I do it 1,000%. I'm the JV boys coach, but I'm going to help out with the varsity. And it's also to integrate what the varsity coach is trying to implement. And I want to try to implement that as well on my JV team.
Mm.
So it's Don's senior year. Mind you, they don't know me at all. You know, at all. I'm coming down to open gyms. I'm helping out. And I think like sometimes they'd be like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Until they realize that they know.
And then, hold on, was that
I can
real?
I can definitely second that.
Who this
because
tall white girl
yeah,
coming
like,
in here?
Because, you know, we practice and she's coming in, and I'll never forget this one moment. She's like, you gotta get more elevation on your shot. And in my head, I'm like, I know how to shoot. What is she talking about?
Mm.
And she just kept saying it to me. And I'm just blowing it off because I'm like, you know, I know what I'm doing. I can shoot. I make shots. Then one night I was just having a really bad night in practice. Couldn't hit a shot.
You weren't elevating?
Yeah, she was elevate. I'm telling you. I listened that one time, and I'm like, Okay, you got it. My bad.
Mm.
Yeah, she was right.
But the reason that I think all of them that I coached, like I was the JV coach, but I also had a lot of relationships with varsity. And Don more so stuck out, not because of how good he was as a basketball player, but he is more mature beyond his years. So he's commanding a team of kids his age.
No, I remember, and we talked about this. I refed you. I remember the game, but now I really remember you. It was against Clark, and I think it had playoff implications. And I do remember that you were a leader, and everything else was much more scattered. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, but like he was a great basketball player, phenomenal. You can't compare him to a lot of people that I've seen play because he's just. Anyway, his manner, being mature, and then him being able to command like kids his age and then run the team. It was almost like he was a coach, but he's like a coach playing in the game. And just the way he handles himself, he's just a phenomenal individual. So to add to the skill of what he can do, because he's also a 3-sport athlete. So coaching him in basketball, he listens, he takes everything. He's always positive. He like gets his teammates to uplift as well. And it was just so amazing to see a kid that like really wants it, really works hard, really goes after it. And then he's open and accepting to like change. You know, it's hard to do that, but at his age, and he's only 2 years in college right now. So you graduated in 2022.
Yeah.
So he's young, he's today's world, and this is somebody that's above the standards of what somebody should be like. So it was just very intriguing and just beautiful to watch and coach and be part of. And I think because of his leadership, they were able to go so far with what that team did. And it was one of the best coaching experiences I had and one of the best years, I think, in Lawrence's time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Especially because we at the beginning of the season, nobody had faith in us. Like, we weren't even projected to have a positive record.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw that I had Lawrence on the schedule, I'm like, this is gonna be. I don't know what this is. So, I was kind of pleasantly surprised that there were people in the stands, and it was a very competitive game. And I was like, this is for real. This wasn't like a, And ironically, one of my friends that just started reffing, that was the first game he went to watch me, and that's kind of how he got the bug. We're gonna get you with the bug later on, but I wanted to segue this to something that I've just thought of. So, the team that I've been coaching for all these years, I literally have been the only male this whole time. So, I find it like such an accomplishment for me, being able to lead all these young women when I'm not even a female. Just talking about that whole stigma of like, you don't know if she knows what she's talking about. I felt like that for the longest because not only was I a male, I was young. And, my intention, as we talked before, wasn't even about volleyball. So once I started focusing on the game and started like getting my bearings as a coach, and then once you start winning championships, it's kind of hard to not believe what you're saying, especially when the results are the same year in and year out. What was that dynamic like that, Coach Dempsey was the only female on staff, probably the only female that was around the whole basketball team, the boys basketball team. Was that an adjustment in the beginning? And when was the whole time when everybody in the team just kind of embraced it? And then we'll talk about your experience with coaching an all-male team and being on an all-male staff and just being the only female. Go ahead.
At first, like, definitely, I feel like I could speak for all of us, even her JV team at a point. Like, when she first came, we're like, she's a female hooper. When you think of guy hoops and female hoops, they don't really correlate as much unless you really know basketball.
Absolutely.
Right? So these are a bunch of high school kids. They don't know. They're just here to hoop.
Right.
So at first they're like, she's just a female coach, Okay, she played basketball. She knows what she's talking about. But it was really until, when she started to scrimmage with us. And, she wasn't backing down. She was putting the shoulder in some of the guys' chest. Get off me. Scoring.
She took your do-rag off and threw it on the
And some of these guys are really like, okay, she can hoop. Like, she's not just a coach. Like,
that'll always do it.
And it's like, she's not even just a female either. She's a ball player. So it was at a point where we didn't even look at her as a female. we looked at her as a coach and a fellow basketball player. So
you think that was important for her to just show what she can do on the court for you, all of y'all to be like, all right, she gets it, and and I'm gonna listen to her.
Not for me personally, but speaking for the other guys, because when she first got there, they're like, oh, she's just a female coach. Like half of them thought she was the coach for the girls team. They didn't realize that she was here for the JV team. And then once she actually showed, like, I'm not just a female, like I'm a basketball player. Like there's no gender roles in this. We're hoopers here. And then that's when they finally like they all locked it in and was like, okay, yeah.
Now, was that intimidating to you that you were just enveloped by all males in a dominant situation? And
No, definitely not.
Did you feel like you had to prove yourself in real time, or were you like, you know what, I know I'm a slow burn, I know what I'm talking about, and I know eventually everyone's gonna, not fall in
Honestly,
line? But
I was excited to go to open gym because I've been in the setting of coaching males before, and again, it's not about gender to me. It's about if I'm on the court, like when I play pickup with guys, they're like, oh, I was gonna dunk it on you. All right, I'm a basketball player. When I'm on the court, I'm a basketball player. So like if I'm playing against you and you're a guy, you could dunk it, dunk it. Like don't treat me any differently because I'm a female, because at the end of the day, I still might be able to outplay you. Like 5 knee surgeries and all, I can still outplay you. And it was funny because we scrimmaged a lot. So Coach Robinson would get on the court. His 2 sons were also on staff. They would get on the court. I would get on the court, and we would have like one of them. And there's passes getting through that they're like, what? And they're not in the right place because, again, it all comes down to experience. So, like, I remember one specific practice. We were really, like, killing them. And some of the boys' faces are like...
And you weren't on the team? You was on the other team?
Yeah, no, I was there.
Oh, you was with... No, I'm saying, were you
you
on
were
their team?
Against us.
Yeah, I was going against them.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you wasn't feeling what they were doing.
No, it was like me. I expected it because at this point I knew who they were. Like I've been playing against the Suns, played against her, but it's like my teammates. They're just like flabbergasted. I'm like, I mean, we are playing against former basketball players, so yeah, they were killing us.
The hubris of the youth, I must say. Every the Saturday before Labor Day, my kids, we all scrimmage, and I always get the managers and the other coach. And I'm like, I hate to tell you, but this is the only time you will lose this whole season. And they're like, we're not going to lose. And we always run the table.
Yeah.
3 years in a row, we've been undefeated. But when they play me, they not beating me. So I tell them, once you could beat me, you could tell me what to do. But until you beat me, you're going to listen to me and you're going to win the championship. And I always tell them, like, it's not going to... And I don't even play volleyball like that anymore. I only play against them. And I tell them, like, if you can beat me, there's going to be no one in your league that's going to be more difficult than me. Because I've done been through it. And that's so interesting that, athletes, they think as though experience isn't such a super ingredient to being successful in this, right? It's like, even though I haven't played in a couple of years and I know Kelly doesn't play as frequently, I already know what to do on the court, especially after reffing all of these games. But with that, you transition back to going back to a girls team. Is that something that like you kind of long for? Do you prefer one or the other, or you just prefer coaching basketball?
So there's a lot more I want to add, but at the same time, it was the hardest decision I had to make. Like the coaching season at Lawrence, so I come in, I'm like excited to go to open gyms. I know that everyone's not going to expect the new coach to be a female, but I coach basketball, and I've coached in a boys setting before multiple other times. But this was the first high school setting. It was always AAU or middle school, but this was the first high school. And I think there's also, for me as a female, I think it's harder, like as a professional, to see a female coach a boys team. So I think that, my resume spoke for itself, and they understood I knew what I was doing. And you just get more respect. And I was so thankful to have the coaching staff that was there and Coach Robinson, because he was amazing. And I think it was beneficial, honestly, to all of the Lawrence program, because I would remember there'd be situations, and no offense, but I don't think always like they would want to talk to a man about something. And I don't know if Don remembers, but especially with my boys, you know, they would do some things or goofy things, or they would just get changed in front of the girls, or like they wouldn't hold the door and the cheerleaders are leaving, or the girls basketball team, and I'm like, hello, you know, like there was kind of a different aspect that I brought to it, like a mom, an aunt, like this is how we're gonna act and behave. When I was coaching the JV, I had to start the season where if you have a do-rag on, if you have jewelry on, if your shoes aren't untied, if you're not wearing basketball clothing, we're running for every single piece. So I remember like one of the first times they almost had to run like 12 laps. And every day it was like they started checking each other and was like, yo, you got a piece of jewelry on, get it off. Like they didn't want to run laps anymore. But if you don't play a game like that, we shouldn't be practicing like that. So I think there was a lot of change on top of just a new coach coming in. There was a lot of different standards, but Coach Robinson did a great job of having those standards. And I think everyone just clicked, and I really, really enjoyed it, like so much, especially helping out the varsity. There's so much talent and there's so much great individuals that were part of the Lawrence basketball program at that time that it was fun. Like it was so much fun. And I had the job of like coming in and teaching, so it was a hard year because they pretty much like lost some years because of COVID. So I'm coming in with freshmen, sophomores, and the 21-22 season. So it was just COVID. And middle school most of the time, right? That's when you guys start playing sports in 7th grade.
Yeah, 7th grade.
The first time they actually have a referee if they're not playing outside, because you don't have a big program, right? They don't have a big community program where they're playing a sport. So the first time they actually get into a situation, like a real, like we talk about the show and the atmosphere of a game, is in 7th grade. So now I'm getting freshmen that went through COVID. They had 7th, 8th grade, and now they're finally like back able to play.
Right.
And lack some skills to the point where I'm saying play basketball. And I'll never forget in a practice, one of them's like, what do you mean by play basketball? I'm like, well, when the play doesn't work out, what are you going to do? Run the play again? Just see what's open, play basketball, find different ways to score or play defense. Like, don't just do what you... And they would be wide open. Like, it happens to every team, but they would be wide open on an out-of-bounds play, and they would still run the play. And I'm like, hello, there's no defense on you. So it was fun. And it was a lot of teaching. And I think with the varsity guys, it wasn't necessarily about teaching, but it was refining skills and just being just another person that they can rely on, like to talk about things, or just, I would just jump in and help sometimes. We had this really tall kid, Quez, love him. And he was so soft. So I remember like I would say to him, knock me down. He's like, coach, I don't want to hurt you. Knock me down, Quez. Like, be a little bit aggressive. And it was hard for him to like change his mindset of, all right, I need to be aggressive, or like, instead of, coach, I'm not going to hurt you, you're a female, you know? And I was just trying to get him, in my mind, it's like, no, you need this physical skill. But in his mind, it's like, coach, come on. Because he's like 6'7".
Did Quez knock you down?
Quez got a little physical, but...
didn't knock you down.
But he ended up getting super physical, and it's just, I feel like the more that you pour into them, the more they give you. But once they know what you're giving them, they're one of the best teams I've ever had, where you really see your relationship on the court. Like, truly.
Yeah, that sounds like a great... I remember when I saw you there, I went, what's that drive like right now?
I actually enjoyed the drive.
Really?
I enjoed the drive.
I hate those like 5 consecutive lights at Peninsula Boulevard. There's one that's like really long, right next to the Asian restaurant. I got a game there on Saturday. I'm dreading driving there. It's like, I don't even really live that far, but it feels like it's far just driving all the way.
I had so much solitude taking that drive and then taking the drive home that it was just nice. Just be in the car, listen to music, like just chill out before I got to get there. And I was excited to get there.
I got pieces in my mouth, so you don't have to talk.
Well, let's hear your high school experience, because you did a lot. you were a 3-sport athlete. You did really well in those sports, and your senior year was definitely, I think, one to remember for you.
Well, high school sports in general, a memory that I'll forever hold on to. Freshman year, I was a freshman libero playing volleyball. Also played basketball. Was just played JV. Sophomore year, I again played another year of libero playing volleyball, and then this was my first year of varsity basketball, and that went pretty good. For volleyball, those first 2 years, freshman year I got all division, did pretty solid. The next year I got all county honorable mentions as a libero. JV basketball, it was okay. JV, we had a really good team. We had a lot of talent. So sophomore year of basketball, that was really I think that was really my turning point in basketball. Like, I knew I was good, but after that season, I was like, I could really be special because, like I said, freshman year we had a lot of talent, and all that talent came up to varsity that next year, but my role changed. JV, I was the point guard. I was the facilitator. I set the plays up. I score if I need to, but again, we had a lot of talent, so I didn't really have to. It was fun. Sophomore year was it was different. This was my first year being coached under Coach Rob. And we had a very good team. I wasn't the star player. We had our point guard, Michael Henry. Newsday, all Long Island, averaged 24, 10, and 7. So he was really the star of the team. And growing up, I've always been if not the best player, one of the best players on my team. So for me to not have the ball in my hands 24/7, it was kind of an adjustment, but an adjustment that I was fine with making. I became, the shooting guard. If you needed help, I'm open. If I got to fly around, hit a few threes, I'm going to do that. I ended up setting the school record for most threes in the season. I averaged 14, and I got all conference. And then that's where, freshman and sophomore year, they were good years, but I feel like my junior and senior year of high school is what really, that's what really, defined who I am. It was more of a, okay, I got to grind, because this was around COVID time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I have a basketball hoop on the side of my house. We can't do nothing. We can't see anybody. Video games get tiring at a point. So, I'm gonna go on the side of my house, grinding, waking up at 7 a.m., doing drills, playing basketball till 3, 4. My mom has to drag me in the house, and it all translated. So, we couldn't play for quite some time. We were out of school, no human contact, blah, blah, blah. We finally come into basketball season of junior year. This is still COVID time, It's an adjustment. We have to play with masks on. Conditioning is hard. A lot of people haven't touched the basketball in God knows how long.
Right.
We had some people on the team at a point never played basketball in their lives, but we needed spots to fill. So it was tough, but it was fun because all that work that I was doing during COVID when I had nothing to do, it all translated. In junior year, ended up being, in my opinion, my best season. Averaged 18 points. I was the most complete I've ever been. I was attacking. I was being a leader. Was driving, hitting shots like I normally do, and that ended up translating to my senior year. And the same thing with volleyball. I played club volleyball going into my junior year, and
what team did you play for?
I played for Sport Time.
Okay.
Right there up Hempstead Turnpike in
Bethpage.
Yeah. And it was a travel team. This is where I was really into volleyball. I'm like, yeah, I really want to do this. But then COVID came. Couldn't travel anywhere. All we did was practice against each other. Blah blah blah. We had a few tournaments, but Long Island is really good at volleyball. I feel like that's a sport where not a lot of people know that we really have that talent. So in Sport Time, like I said, I come from 5 towns. There's not really much competition in that area.
Right.
So in that area, I'm one of the best. Get to Sport Time, I really got humbled.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm playing against these kids, 6'5", 6'7", putting the ball down in front of the 10-foot line. But it was fun. It was, again, another humbling experience, and it defined me to who I am today. So volleyball, I played libero my freshman and sophomore year. Transitioned to right side hitter because of lack of depth. Ended up getting all county. Became one of the best hitters in Nassau County. Had to transition my senior year and become a setter.
That's tough.
Yeah, it was tough, but when you put your mind to something, and if you just have that mentality, nothing's gonna stop you. And it for sure didn't stop
How
me.
long did it take you to get it down? Because that's not like a 1, 2, 3 thing.
You know, it honestly, it wasn't terrible only because I played libero. If it wasn't for my first 2 years of libero, because, you know, sometimes the setter can't get to that second touch. So I already had the hands, you know, I got to set here, I got to set there. So it was a difficult transition, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't as difficult because of the experience I already had. And volleyball was fun. I definitely wish it was something I could have played longer and started earlier. Because,
Got you.
Yeah, because I started in 7th grade because one of my friends said, try out, you might as well. What's the worst that'll happen? You get cut, you move on.
I know the feeling.
Yeah.
People like to just kind of tell you to try out, and then you never know. But I'll always say I'm a deep advocate for volleyball, obviously. It's a sport that you could pick up later in life. There's so many people. I don't know if you know Coach O'Connor at Holy Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she said to me, she had the nerve to tell me this in the summer. She looked at me and said, I wish I played for you guys in high school. I'm like, don't tell me that now. You're 33 years old. Like, why are you telling me this now? And she's like, you know, I play at the beach now, and like, I wish I just had that experience. And I'm like,
I see 60 and 70-year-old people at the beach the whole time bumping a volleyball back and forth.
It's a great sport.
Yeah.
I want to go back to your experience as just a person in high school. You know, aside from the athletic part of it, is just experiencing COVID-19. I mean, that, first of all, I can't believe it was 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
Right? But, you know, the first wave of kids now have gone on to college. But, you know, I know for me, my whole life got upended. Like, I was reffing in the city, I was reffing in college, I was driving wherever, and I was doing whatever it took to get to the next level. And then I felt like my identity was much different, especially when something is taken away from you that you know is just like a normal thing that's part of your life, right? So at the time, it was March. Basketball is winding down, and then I'm starting to get into my softball and my lacrosse seasons, and then it stopped, which was very strange, and it continued, right? So then, you know, August rolls around. I normally have volleyball. We didn't even have that. So I think it was just strange, and I am interested to hear from somebody when they were in high school. What was that like? Was that just tough? Was it? And I know you spent a lot of time in solitude and playing basketball, but just knowing that your high school experience is like not something that you wanna that you wish you couldn't remember, but it's something that you know you won't ever forget. What was that like?
I definitely have like a love-hate relationship for COVID. So coming from an academic standpoint, like my entire life I've always been straight A student. The lowest I'd go was maybe a B plus. Like I've always been locked in on school. Like when it came to that COVID time, that online learning, I just couldn't. Like that was the first time in my life I've ever failed a class.
And you were okay with it, right?
No, I wasn't, but I was at the point where like I was like, you know what, I can't believe I failed this class, but it's like I can't focus. Like
right.
I can't focus. Like I have my TV on behind me. I have my controller staring at me like play me.
It was
play
out
me.
of control.
I couldn't, but like, and just, you know, not being able to see my friends,
right.
like that mentally it was not okay. But the love I had for it introduced me to a hobby that became like my life now. It introduced me to photography, and if it wasn't for COVID, I don't think if it wasn't for COVID, I think I'd still be, you know, basketball is my life. I don't want to do anything else. But now that COVID has introduced me to photography, it just went from me going out the house, walking up the block, taking pictures just because I have nothing to do, to me like seeing a future in photography. Like my goal right now, I want to be a sports photographer. I want to get to the NBA. I want to get to the NFL. Like I want to get to that level.
Well, time out. You don't want to be one. You are one already.
Yeah.
Can't really think of it that way.
But yeah, if it wasn't for COVID, then I don't know. That's why I have a love-hate relationship for it. Because yeah, you know, everything changed. Couldn't really do much. And as a kid, since I'm a responsible kid, and I've always been like that my entire life. So since I was in like 4th, 5th grade, I've been out the house all the time. I'm at the park. I'm riding my bike. So, you know, when I couldn't do that, when I couldn't go outside, it's just like, yo, like, what am I going to do with myself? And you think like, yeah, teenager, you don't have school. You sit inside playing video games. Who wouldn't want that life? But at a point, it gets annoying. That same cycle is just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Now you're standing staring at a wall like, oh my God, I'm going crazy. You don't want to watch TV because that's what you do all day. You don't want to play your games. That's what you do all day. Can't go outside. So it's like, what do you want to do? But as time progressed and as COVID got better, it introduced me to so much more. Another problem that I have, I feel like way more bottled in, like, socially now, like, because I was in for so long. Like, when I'm out, like,
I feel the same way.
yeah, I just, like, I'm not a mean person, but
Right.
I walk past you and I'm just like,
See,
straight face.
I feel the same way, but I'm an older person. Like, I don't know how I would, like, you know what I mean? It's kind of appropriate for my age for me to not be outside. But if I was like when I was 20, I was out and about. I mean, like, I'm out. So, you know, I always feel for people that are your age, but at the same time, every negative thing that happens in your life, there's always a hidden positive benefit. And it sounds like photography was your outlet. Like, what specifically in photography that, like, gravitated to you? Was there, like, a moment in COVID?
So
Did you see COVID on, like, somebody's screen? And was like, let me take a picture of this?
So I just started, like, just shooting anything at this point. Like, I'm trying to get certain grass particles or trying to get a
It's like
nice
macros.
design. Yeah. But then, you know, as COVID started easing up, you know, I could start seeing my friends again. We can play basketball. I'm at points, so I'm like, you know what? Let me bring my camera with me. And this is where I start shooting my friends playing basketball, a few of my friends playing soccer. And I'm like, you know what? I really enjoy this. And I feel like it makes it even better that I am an athlete because I can predict things before they even happen. So I'm ready for it. I can get shots that other photographers can't because they don't know, like, okay, if I see a point guard, if I see his eyes, okay, I know he's about to do a behind the back pass. I know he's about to pass it there. So I'm there with my camera ready. A lot of photographers miss it because they don't have that mindset. So I feel like, you know, yes, I miss playing basketball. Yes, I miss being the athlete I was. But I feel like it correlates in a sense.
See, you make it sound like you washed up and you ain't never gonna touch a ball.
Well, I was going to say, I want him to talk about his senior year because that was a huge turning point, and I think, like, that's where he really had to make the tough decision of what do I do going forward.
Yeah, so, like, my senior year going into my freshman year of college, it was really tough. So, 3-sport athlete, you know, I've only been talking about basketball and volleyball, but I joined the track team in my junior year. And, you know, it was just for fun. It was really more to help me with basketball. Like, I hate running.
This is how it always happens. This happened to me too.
I hate running. So the coach was begging me. He was like, yo, join the team, please. I was like, I'll join the team, but I'm not running. Like, I'm doing nothing but jumping. So I became long jumper, triple jumper, high jumper. And, you know, like I said, I just began doing it for fun. And as senior year came around, I'm like, yo, I'm really good. Like, I'm only 5'7", but I can high jump 6 feet.
That's it?
And I can long jump about 20 feet plus. And, you know, I'm like, you know what? I'm in the process of looking for schools, you know, where do I want to go to college, what I want to do next. And I'm doing so good in track that I'm like, you know, this would be fun to do in college. So I wasn't even thinking about basketball at a point. And it was just nothing but track. I was looking at St. John Fisher, which is in Rochester. And that's the school I was stuck on. I was like, yeah, I'm signing these papers, sending them in to the coach. I'll see you this fall. And then, you know, I was also looking at the University of Hartford. Like I said, we're from the 5 towns. There's not really much competition. So I didn't have that, like, high self-esteem. Like, yeah, I can be a part of a Division I program, blah, blah, blah. So I'm looking at St. John Fisher, which is D3. University of Hartford is Division I at the time. And I'm sitting here like, you know, I want to stay close to home, but I don't want to go too far, blah, blah, blah. So I hit up the coach. I'm like, listen, this is what I can do. I can high jump 6 foot. I can long jump 20. You know, let's see what we can do. He was interested. He was very impressed at my height, what I could do. I ended up going to the University of Hartford and was on the Division I track team. That's when, you know...
This was last year.
Yeah, this was last year. And this is when, you know, I became, you know, I'm still into photography. I'm taking pictures of the basketball team and stuff like that. And I'm sitting here like, yo, I really miss playing basketball. Like, I feel like I made the wrong decision. And it really got, like, tough at a point because it's like, do I want to continue track? Because, yeah, I love this. I'm having fun doing this. But my first love, basketball, this is what I've been doing my whole life. Mm-hmm. This is what a lot of people know me for.
And after his senior year that he had, and were you ever in the playoffs prior to your senior year?
Yeah, we went to playoffs one time my sophomore year when we lost in the first round.
His senior year, he was doing really, really well. And finally, like, the go-to guy. And, you know, I wasn't around for volleyball or track, but I think he made such a statement with his basketball career. And I think we all kind of talked to him, was like, are you sure you want to give it up? You know, I think you had that conversation with multiple people, like, are you sure, you know, you're done? And he was kind of dead set, I'm done.
Damn, I wish I was your coach, because what I normally tell my girls, sometimes they're in the situation where they're like, I don't know if I want to play volleyball in college. I go, adulthood is long, you know, because you're only going to be in college so many years.
Right.
And then, you know, me and her, it's just, you lose a tooth here, you know, that's how it goes. So.
Yeah, so then I ended up, you know, I was at the University of Hartford first semester. I ended up coming home to Nassau, and I was like, you know what? This is when I'm talking to Coach Rob. He was like, yeah, you can definitely play there, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you know what? You're right. You know, started a community college, go slow. So then I get to Nassau. I'm stuck on, yeah, all right, I'm here to play basketball. Can't wait for tryouts to come. I'm ready. Then I get offered a job as the sports photographer for Nassau. So, again, another tough decision. I originally came home for basketball. So, you know, Nassau is a great program. Always has been. Coach AJ's amazing coach. He knows what he's doing. So it's like, I don't know if I'm going to get a lot of playing time. I don't know if I'm going to be the star player. I don't know if I'm going to be a bench player. I don't even know if I'm going to make the team. So right now, do I make a decision? Do I play basketball like I originally came here? Or do I do photography, continue doing what I love to do while making a little bit of money as a college student? Because that's not easy. So I stuck with the photography. So again, it's still a very tough decision, and you know, I question my decision each and every day, but I just try and play basketball here and there, so that if I ever do feel like switching, you know, I'd still be in that mode. I'd still be ready for that time to come. But yeah, it was my senior year was definitely it was quite a life changer. Like, I feel like the life that I have now, if I would have stuck with basketball, I'd be in a completely opposite direction. I wouldn't have had the experiences that I've had. I wouldn't have become the person that I've had. Like, this photography journey, I've met so many people. I photographed so many people. Like, I photographed Carmelo Anthony not too long ago. Like,
he's still staying involved with the sports, with everything that he's doing, you know?
Well, you should definitely come to one of my volleyball games next year. It's really amazing. But that's really cool, man. I guess the way I could, put more pieces of a puzzle together for you is that I really like photography. And I know you mentioned that since you're an athlete, you know what the angles are and you can get angles. You know who has the craziest angles? Referees. So all we do is watch sports, and we wait, and we freeze, and we have to make a call. And, you know, we talked about this off air about, I guess, overall, the general public's perception of a referee. I think everyone got it wrong. I mean, think about it. Have you ever interacted with a referee the way you're interacting with right now?
absolutely not.
There you
Never.
go. There you go. Can you imagine I love the same game that you love?
Never.
There you go.
Never.
So what
Can you imagine that his sport is basketball, but he's like a 10-year championship
Would never
volleyball
imagine
coach?
unless you
there
told
you go.
me.
Look at all the things that we have in common. And what I'm trying to say to you is, you know, you're saying that hard to make money in college, photography, reffing might be the move because you get back on the court, but you're making money. So at least it's moving. We'll talk about it off air, but you know what I'm trying to say is it's just another job in the industry, right? There's people that run the shot clock. I know somebody that runs the shot clock at Madison Square Garden, and he also referees. I know coaches, right, that also referee, right? I definitely know photographers that referee. So, you know, it's just, I guess it's one of those things where we have such a low public opinion about ourselves because, you know, we affect the game and all that. But just know, and I'm saying this just in general for the most of the referees that do care, and Coach Dempsey can attest to this, that I don't want to mess up your game. I want to do the best I can. I'm not coming in there like, oh, I can't wait to mess up and everyone yell at me. No, I want to
There
go
was
in.
a game that at Clark, I believe, you got in foul trouble.
Yeah, that game still haunts me. Even when we were there
He
today.
could not even.
Was it at Clark?
Yeah, it was at Clark. And
Okay, that one game I was
killing Clark. But I just couldn't stay out of foul trouble. That game still haunts me to this day.
And he was out most of.
I think I had 4 fouls before halftime.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was a hard game.
Were you playing aggressive though?
Yeah, I was playing very aggressive. Like that might have been one of the most aggressive games that I've played.
See, this is also something that I tell Kelly Not all refs are the same, right? Like me, I'm a thug. So like, listen, when somebody plays really aggressive, I'd probably give you a heads up. Like, make sure you stay legal for the most part. And my thing is like from 0 to 100%, the finishing of a move, especially like on the defensive end. You know, when you know somebody's going to go for a layup, don't wait till the last minute to, you know, because to me it's like, okay, you cooked it for 80% of the time, but you took it out the air fryer too early. Why would you do such a thing? Like, let the whole thing finish. And sometimes you can't because of your own competitive spirit, right? You're emotionally charged up in the game depending on what it is. And I think that's just a maturity thing. But, you know, just know that just like everybody, like, I'll give you an example. So this weekend I had Holy Trinity versus Holy Cross. And one of the Holy Cross was like, yo, how was that? They don't even know that the other person called it. And now I'm on the line. They're just like, yo, what was that? I'm like, first of all, I didn't call it. And they're like, all right, so you don't know what he called? I'm like, all right, tell me about number 5 jump shot. You agree with the last 2 shots? And he's like, what does that mean? I'm like, he's on your team, but sometimes you don't agree with what he's doing. He's on my team, but he's my teammate. And the kid on Holy Trinity, he's like, you didn't understand that? You wildin', man. But that's what I mean. Like, you don't, like, even though he's on my team, he might have a whole different type of, like, circumstance of, like, how he thinks the game. Like, I know if Kelly decided to ref, she's a big, right? So she's gonna think differently with the post plays as opposed to me, where I'm more guard oriented. Like, all of those things are, I'm probably gonna officiate differently than what she's doing. I don't think anyone takes that into account. And we just talked about the yelling part. Just know, if you ever do get into reffing and you decide that you want to take that up, it's just like 10%. It's really not that serious. She's still yelling at me.
It's not.
I'm not like, yo, I'm not gonna take her games. It's not that big of a deal. It's like, don't worry about that. It's not that serious. But that's really cool, man. I guess the final thing that I want to say is, like, where do you see yourself a year from now, 2 years from now? Because it sounds like you've just had so many different things happen to you. And even though you might think that it's really turbulent and that it just led you to here and you're not sure, I just hope for you, my wish for you is that you find clarity and decisiveness in what you do. And don't ever feel like you're wasting time in something, right? Because one thing is going to lead to another thing, and then a multitude of different things. So don't ever feel like you made the wrong decision. You just got to keep moving forward and taking your lumps. So I'm excited for you. Where do you see yourself in a year from now, 2 years from now?
I don't really have a set answer, but if I had to say something for sure, I'd say I'd in the big leagues taking pictures, you know, living my dream out. But I'd have no issue with seeing myself being back at the ball player that I was a few years ago. Like,
I was gonna say, selfishly, I want to know if there's hope
there's
to maybe see Don Smalls III back on a basketball team.
There's definitely hope, and I feel like I'm glad that I took the route of going to a community college rather than just staying at a 4-year, because, you know, like right now my plan is to get my associates in photography, see what I can do from there. But if I want to go back and play ball, I still got years to do that. So that's why I'm glad I'm taking the route that I am. I'm taking everything slow. I'm not rushing anything. So yeah, if I had to say an answer right now, I'd say, you know, just being a better photographer than what I am right now. Keep learning, keep growing, keep branching out. But yeah, if basketball comes back into play, I'd have no issue with that.
No, just don't wait too long. That's all I'm saying. Don't wait too long. That's all I got.
No, I just want to close up with, it was, again, like one of the best coaching experiences. I'm so thankful for.
I remember how happy you were. I couldn't believe that it overrode the ride getting there.
The ride, again, was never an issue. Never. And I want to tell this one little story. So with my JV team, I said we're going to do film. So I said, all right, I'll bring some snacks. And I know, like, you know, the hardships that some of those individuals go through being in the Lawrence School District. So I go to the grocery store and I'm like, all right, I'm going to buy some body armor. I'm going to buy fruits. I'm gonna buy, like
That's not the
healthy.
snacks what they want.
So I bring the snacks, right? And they're like, oh, they're so excited for film.
They're like,
This is like the first film session we're doing with the JV. They're like, oh, snacks. So I bring everything and they're like, what? Like, Coach Kelly, when you said snacks, I thought it was gonna be like candy.
Like artificial.
And I'm like, how is that gonna help you as a basketball player on the court? Like,
it's gonna
none
help
of that.
you be a better coach.
But guess what? They wanted us to do film session. Just because of that. Like, because somebody was doing the extra mile and because, they saw the progress from practices and the film sessions to games. And, I would tell them, I'd be straight up with them. Like, some teams are going to play, are going to shoot the lights out of the gym. You're athletic, they're skilled. And if they're more skilled, you're probably going to get beat. And I think that's the day-old question that I try to think of. Do I want to teach athleticism that you can mold, or do you want to coach talent and skill?
Well, I'll just say from coaching all of these years, I think both, and it all depends on who you have.
No, it does.
Sometimes I've coached every type of machination you can have. I could have the most talented team, the team that I definitely don't think is going to win but wins, a gritty team, a nervous team. Those are all the different beats. So, I think it's just always, for me, now I think my challenge is obviously the longevity and the sustained excellence, but just more like figuring out this puzzle this year. Like, what's the 2024 puzzle? What's the 2025 puzzle? What's my password going to be in 3 years, But that's all I got. So.
No, it's reasons like a player like him or an individual like him that I love doing what I do. And, it connects people. And I coached you your senior year in 2022. And here we are 2 years later. Like, he just photographed my high school team that I'm coaching now. I said, come down.
You got some good
pictures.
action shots? Of course. Did you make it look like it was action shots?
But that's what I like to see, and I build relationships with people, and I want them to find their passion and help them along with their passion, and stay in contact because it's all about the people that we have and that we make part of our lives.
Yeah, I always say, what's the use of a network if you don't use it?
Right.
Right. So definitely, I think you're outstanding, young man. I wish you the best of luck. Any final things you want to say to?
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate
this.
I'll shout out your girl, who's been faithfully, steadily looking at the camera.
And where can people find you?
Well, my Instagram for my photography is at d3.photography_ on Instagram. That's where all my work is published. If you guys want to check it out, that's what it'll be.
I'm definitely going to check it out. This is Ralph the Ref from Referee Rant. This is Coach Dempsey from Hicksville High School. We all ball that talk. Peace.